Russian media reported in recent weeks two new developments concerning the PAKFA, or the Future Aviation System of Frontal Aviation. In addition to the news of the 6th T-50 prototype taken to the air and 5 additional ones being in advanced stages of construction, the Russian media reported that the T-50 would enter service with the Russian Aerospace Forces already in 2017, in other words, in little more than a year. The aircraft series production would commence the same year. It is quite a milestone for this highly ambitious aircraft program that began comparatively recently in 2001 when the Ministry of Defense issued its final list of specifications for the aircraft, though preliminary research on the prospective successors to the Su-27 and MiG-31 fighters was launched already in the 1980s. These specifications included super maneuverability comparable to, if not better than, displayed by the Su-27, super cruise, or the ability to travel at supersonic speeds without the use of afterburner, multi-role capabilities including the ability to engage air, land, and naval targets with a wide spectrum of long-range guided munitions, advanced electronic suite in the form of an active phase array radar with near 360-degree coverage thanks to the side and aft-looking aerials and so-called glass cockpit that allows the pilot to avoid being overwhelmed by information, and of course stealth or low observability in both active and passive sense of the word, with the T-50 being able to engage targets without the use of its own onboard radar. Contrary to much negative propaganda emanating from Sukhoi's Western competitors, the T-50 project development turned out to be smoother than many anticipated, largely thanks to the parallel evolution of the Su-27 family of aircraft, which was used to test and improve new technologies before incorporating them into the T-50. In that respect, it may well be that Sukhoi has taken over from Lockheed Martin as the world's foremost fighter aircraft design bureau, as the long list of developmental problems experienced by both the F-22 and F-35 programs suggests that its design culture was disrupted by the multiple defense mergers of the 1990s. Which means that, whereas the T-50 stands on the shoulders of the Su-27 family, the F-35 is being designed as if it were the first product of a newly constituted design bureau. The planned 2017 service entry date will only be another milestone in the life of the T-50 program, with many to follow. The initial frontline squadron aircraft will most likely be narrowly capable air combat machines, just as the initial Su-27 fighters were. It will simply be the spear tip of a new era of Russian military aviation. However, just as the Su-27 spawned the Su-30, 33, 34 and 35, which now collectively comprise the backbone of the Russian Aerospace Forces, the T-50 will similarly acquire new capabilities and serve as the springboard for spin-off models, so that in a few decades' time the T-50 will be the backbone of the Aerospace Forces, likely supplemented by smaller MiG fighters, combat drones, and possibly even the 6th generation fighter. The only unknown aspect of the program is its service designation, for the T-50 will surely acquire a SU designation upon being accepted into service. Fully implementing the T-50's capabilities will also require the development of a new range of munitions capable of taking advantage of the design's internal weapons bays. Even though the T-50 can carry older ordnance under wing, it is also evident that a range of weapons is under development. An example of such munitions is the KH-59 Mk2, a derivative of the KH-59 missile family that was demonstrated at the MAX 2015. This new modification, which combines stealth, 300 km range, 300 kg warhead, and a variety of guidance systems enabling it to engage both stationary and mobile land and sea targets, is indicative of the nature of the T-50's future arsenal. While no single weapon system is in and of itself decisive, the T-50's imminent service entry undermines one of the crucial NATO assumptions, namely that of air superiority. Even the initial small fleet of T-50s backed up by the Su-35 and Su-30 fighters would be enough to deprive NATO's land forces of the ability to operate without worrying about attack from the air. Given how unused and unprepared NATO is to operate in the face of opposing air power, the T-50 is an important component of Russia's conventional deterrence posture.
If the Russian Aerospace Forces' performance took NATO by surprise, It is because earlier Russian operations did not suggest that level of ability. Russian aviation took serious losses in the 2008 conflict with Georgia. 7 aircraft shot down, including a Tu-22M bomber, 4 damaged, or 1 lost per each 17 combat missions. There was practically no new aircraft procurement since 1994. Russian aircrews flew far fewer hours than their NATO counterparts. But the Georgia conflict served as a wake-up call and led to reforms which proved both crucial and successful. Russian air power was reduced in numbers and reorganized into 8 air bases, each supporting several air groups based on individual airfields, which allowed individual pilots to get more flying time. In 2012, the air bases and air groups were renamed divisions and regiments. Starting with 2012, new and modernized aircraft began to enter service in large numbers. By 2014 and 2015, Russian air forces were receiving 100 new or thoroughly modernized aircraft a year, and that pace is expected to continue in 2016. By 2020, the Russian Aerospace Defense Forces, VKS, are expected to have at their disposal about 1,500 mostly modern combat aircraft, including 130 heavy bombers, such as the Tu-160, Tu-95MS, and Tu-22M, over 800 fighters, and over 500 tactical bombers and attack aircraft. These reforms led to the Russian VKS demonstrating a number of capabilities which seemed beyond its reach only 7 years earlier. The ability to deploy and sustain a force of 100 combat aircraft for several months in difficult conditions, and the ability to sustain a high rate of combat missions. The ability to function in a reconnaissance strike complex mode, which enables intelligence data obtained by a variety of sources, including aircraft, satellites, drones, and agents, to be converted into targeting data to allow even mobile targets, such as enemy mobile troop or supply columns, to be quickly targeted. The ability to conduct close air support, as well as battlefield interdiction and suppression against an enemy practiced in concealment. The ability to operate in any weather conditions at any time of day. The ability to use precision-guided munitions. The ability to integrate long-range aerial early warning aircraft such as the A-50 and intelligence and ground surveillance aircraft such as the IL-20 and Tu-214R into the overall concept of operations. The ability to use drones on a large scale and as part of an integrated aerial operation. Granted, the picture is not perfect. Here is what Russian air power has not demonstrated in Syria: the ability to organize and operate large aerial strike packages against sophisticated aerial and anti-aircraft defenses. To be sure, while US and some NATO forces may have had that ability a decade ago, it has been degraded by NATO air power being used in Afghanistan and Iraq. The ability to use large numbers or a large variety of precision-guided munitions. Russian aircraft did use many satellite-guided CAB-500R bombs and Kh-29L laser-guided missiles, but most of the munitions dropped were unguided bombs and aerial rockets, aided by sophisticated onboard digital ballistic computers, which allowed them to strike their targets with a fair degree of accuracy. Russia does not have tactical standoff munitions like the SDB or AASM or the JASSM tactical cruise missile. Such weapons are in development and have been shown at MAX 2015, but they will not be in service for years. On the other hand, perhaps there is a silver lining in this, because Russia is not over-reliant on satellite navigation systems to the same extent as NATO is, which might well experience a shock once it tries to use such weapons against opponents more sophisticated than the Taliban. The maturity of some of the most modern aerial systems which entered service only very recently. The Su-30SM, Su-35S and Su-34 do appear to have at least minimum operational capabilities, as their performance in Syria did not give reason to doubt their performance. At the same time, the conflict did not push them to the edge of their performance, as most of the missions were performed equally well by the much older, though upgraded Su-24 bombers. Russian aircraft in Syria did not include the Mi-28N or Ka-52 attack helicopters, which raises questions about the degree of their operational maturity. However, nothing suggests these aircraft are failures. in the same sense as the F-35, for example. Everything suggests that the Russian VKS will not rest on their laurels, but instead will continue to build on their strengths and eliminate weaknesses, so that it will be an even more capable force in the next conflict it has to fight.